Hey guys, this is Tombox, and welcome to your damage report for September 15, 2025. And this is going to go through all of the changes here in this video. So I've got 3 damage reports, we got some winners, we got some losers, and of course we're going to go through the top tier potential moving forward into the format. I'll try to give a little bit of overlap with Doom of Dimension since that's just really around the corner. And so, you know what, hit the like button, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell. Let's get to it. So here's a quick refresher of this morning's ban list. So for the ban cards, we have the King of the Feral Imps, Paradise Smasher, Splash Mage, and Moon of the Close Heaven. All of these have significant impact over the game. King of the Feral Imps bridges any of rank 4 decks into the Mitsurugi line, and Moon of the Close Heaven gave access to Fiendsmith to everyone that can make 2 monsters onto the field, as long as there's no significant restrictions. But even Ryzeal's found a way to get into the Fiendsmith line. So likely this is quite a significant hit overall. It's just the connective tissues being removed and limiting it down to very specific decks that have access to these various engines. Now, note, Paradise Smasher was more or less a shock master that punished your opponent for even trying to use a Molcharmy. So this is pretty brutal, and it won games or lost games depending on how it played out. And Splash Mage essentially was an extension for Maliss, and in fact is probably a direct hit aimed at Maliss, but I'm also not sure if it's going to do anything. More on that on report number 3. Now for the limited cards, X Ryzeal, Dormouse, Soul, Vanquish, Soul Raisin, and there's the Fiendsmith Lacrima. People thought it was the main deck Lacrima, but it's not. They're just bringing back Fiendsmith Lacrima because time rule has changed. There's the Herald of the Arclight going down to 1. Maybe 2 Arclights was too much for some people. I don't know. Linkuriboh, Dryden, and Summon Sork all coming back. Of course, Summon Sork got the errata. Linkuriboh was a very big surprise, but it's going to add to the Yummy strategy, and they're going to be able to use that as their way of synchroing into those synchro 2s. And then Dryden is back. I'm guessing we're going to see that being splashed into various decks. Maybe it's even for Tri-Brigade in the future. Who knows? Because I think we are getting new Tri-Brigades, aren't we? Now, cards going down to 1. Crystron Inclusion, Obedient Schools, Staker's Soul, and Solemn Judgment. I think the one taking significant hits here would be the Vanquish Soul, because they have hand management issues now, and we're going to talk about that in depth in report number 1, because I think it might actually have knocked them down a tier. Maybe they suffer from the curse of winning worlds. Typically, any deck that wins worlds, they do get smashed on the ban list for a little bit. Simon Limits, Branded Fusion going up to 2, doubling in consistency, more chances to search it out. It's a very big win for that one. And as for cards getting freedom, Glow Bulb, I've been chasing for this card for 3 ban lists already, and finally it's back, and maybe it's for Killer Tune. And then there is going to be the Masterpiece going to 3, Morphing Jar to 3, Phantom Sky Blaster to 3. I mean, these are normal summon-based cards, but Snake Eye is kind of back. They're still not fully at full power because they're still lacking original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye, and that probably would also reintroduce Rescue Ace into the mix. But hey, they're still pretty strong. I think you can still play them with Azamina as well. So I guess we can go figure with that. And I think there's just area to explore there. And then Dragonic Diagram to 3. This one's huge. I think you can just use this and revive Dino, like True King Dino. And ripping someone's extra deck is going to be that much easier because Dragonic Diagram and Lithosagrum just breaks 2 Earth monsters, and all of a sudden you're looking at your opponent's extra deck, ripping 3 of them out. It could be extremely devastating, and you can set up some pretty nasty boards. Lightning Storm to 3, the back row decks aren't that safe anymore, and Zodiac Barrage to 3, which means you can get that easy Trident and find this as a way to extend with an additional level 4 body. So anyways, that's the overall coverage of the entire ban list. Let's take a look at some of the winners and losers. Here are the winners and losers. Winners, obviously, Yummy and Draco Tail. They were essentially unscathed. Maybe Cupsy took a slap on the wrist, but the other decks took major slaps to the face, and so it's going to really hurt the Vanquish Soul side. But when it comes to other winners, we have the Dragonic Diagram that not only enable people to play True Draco, but True King as well. True King Dino might be a thing that you're going to see at locals because they have the true extra deck rip in their deck. Imagine a Maliss player trying to deal with them ripping 3 cards out of their extra deck. They lose their copy of essentially all of their Maliss cards, and now they're going to have to try to play with that. And since they're not really dumped and summoned properly, they're not going to be able to revive it. And that goes for many, many other decks as well. So imagine that they're just going to go activate Draconic Diagram, pop one of the cards in hand, summon out like OV Raptor, get another Earth Search, and they also get the Lithosagem. With that Lithosagem, 2 Earths, and all of a sudden your extra deck is like completely like ruined. Right, so it's going to hurt a lot. Branded Fusion to 2, doubling up, and all these little mini victories for the Linkuriboh, the Snake Eyes, Lacrima, Dryden, all fantastic. As for the biggest losers, of course, we have our bridges of the Moon of the Closed Heaven and the King of the Feral Imps, but I think the biggest hit has to be the Ryzeal and the Stake Your Souls. That is going to have more impact because even when they're just in your hand, that's already a beginning of like how you use those cards, and where they're being used is already being impacted. So aside from consistency hit, it's also going to make you brick more. And X to 1, I mean, you can still play with 1X. I mean, the OCG has X at 1, I believe, but no one really played it for Worlds, so go figure. And Obedient School, that's like the slap on the wrist. Everyone else got power slap, and these guys get a slap on the wrist. So report number 1, we are at Vanquish Soul K9, or K9 Vanquish Soul. Ryzeal to 1 and Stake Your Soul to 1 is huge. That's 4 cards out of the deck, but it's not like 4 small cards. These were essentially the consistency pieces of the deck. As Milano said, Stake Your Soul, grab your nose. This is not gonna happen as often, but there's more implications of how Ryzeal also works with Holly Sue. With both of them combined getting impacted at the same time, this is almost like a direct hit towards Holly Sue as well. But let's talk about how we can kind of repair the deck. So there was, of course, people already kind of on the Rescue Ace engine. You can use the Rescue Ace Impulse to go into Fire Attacker, kind of like using it much like a pseudo Phantasme to be able to dig deeper into your deck and getting the Fire attribute. However, they're still kind of like bricks to some degree. Yeah, they're kind of hand trappy, but they're not really. So additional cards that you can try out, which people did previously, Doggeran, the Kaiju, at least on your own turn, you get to use it to break a board. One thing that I'm personally trying right now is the Emissary of the House of Wax, which is a hand trap. Against Yummy, you can completely turn off their board and they cannot be used as material, which is huge because now you don't even have to answer to anything that they have on the field because they can't be used as material. So that's actually fantastic if you want to break a board. And they don't really have that much interaction on their own battle phase. It's like they have to battle into you, and now you have an indestructible monster on the field that you're not taking damage, and you get to lock out their board. So it's something I'm personally trying. You can try to play a more K9 heavy engine, or you can switch through the K9 Crystron build rather than playing Vanquish Soul. I mean, it's all up to you. I mean, with the new release coming from Doom of Dimensions, you can definitely try out a heavier K9 engine instead with the Saryuja package. And also, like, K9 Jax is such a strong card and gives you a different angle to play your liberation spells. You might be able to, liberation, I mean like the release spells, one that help you rank up. You get to like blow up 2 cards now instead of just 1, so that's something available. But let me get into the details of Holly Sue's consistency. Like, people were kind of confused, like, oh, why is Ryzeal a semi-brick now? If you open Ryzeal and Holly Sue summons out from the deck. So if Ryzeal's already in your hand, that means you can't summon out Ryzeal. And therefore, you can't get the column pop effect of Ryzeal and the additional search. It's the only monster you can summon that generates the additional card and provides you with an additional pop. And yeah, that's why it becomes a semi-brick. And if you Rhoda into it, or you search into it and then you summon it, that means you put it into your hand, and you can't really do that whole cycling thing unless somehow you Saryuja the card back into the deck. And I don't know how you're going to figure out how to do that. That seems like very impractical. And yeah, that's why it's very awkward. Now, as for updating your fire attribute, yes, you can add more fire attributes in there, but they're not Ryzeal. If you see them in your hand, you need to pair it with Stake Your Soul, but Stake Your Soul also got hit, and therefore they're going to feel a lot more bricky overall. So maybe it's time to lean into a little bit more of the K9 engine and hope for the best. All right, that's all I can really say. It's going to feel clunky. You're going to feel like you're just not having the right opening hands, and you can't fix your attributes as easily and maintain that hand size. Report number 2 is going to be Ryzeal. So I've been just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Online for a lot for the last couple of hours. It's basically been non-stop Yu-Gi-Oh! Play, and I guess Ryzeal was one of the decks that still managed to surface a lot more than I thought. I thought people were just going to be jumping on just non-stop Yummy play, but losing 1x, sure, it is significant. It is down to 1. OCG had it one. People didn't play at Worlds because they didn't deem it consistent enough to play. But I guess they had other issues because they have other cards that won, like Sword as well. But this is something else. You're losing 1X and 1 King of the Feral Imps if you're playing the Mitsurugi build. And essentially what that means is the Ryzeal engine, you can still build a board. I mean, everything is still there. You can still get all the way to cross. You can still cycle your X back in. And ideally, you want to cycle your X back into the deck so you can dig it back out. And then you can keep using it. Otherwise, your extra deck utility cards, they're not going to see very much play because if they get rid of your X, it's gone for good, and you'll have dead extra deck spots in there. I mean, you can play Pot of Prosperity, dump them out afterwards, but hey, that is what it is. In terms of deck repair, there's some things that you can do with this, because the ban has also released the Zodiac engine. You can shove in barrages, you can maybe mix it with Onomat. I mean, Onomat Ryzeal was also a thing, and now you can play with a counter trap on top. Maybe it's time to move back into playing plugin. I mean, you can plug in for, I think, any Xyz monster, if I'm not mistaken. You can do the whole Baguska thing, sure. But maybe you can do it with a Zodiac Dryden, and that will, imagine a board with Zodiac Dryden. You also have Ryzeal Detonator paired with it, and you have maybe another card next to it just to make it extra annoying. So you have the pop, and you can have, I guess, an unprompted pop effect just from Dryden alone. Dryden probably can do a little bit of a mini combo with the Chalky 9. I'm guessing we're going to go into our extra. We're going to eat a little bit more of our extra deck. Well, I'm not sure if like this is the correct line to go, because Zodiacs, the scariest part during Zodiac format, or not Zodiac format, like Zodiac when it was released a couple formats back, was that it was the 6 material Zeus, it was the 4 material Zeus, and that's what made it super scary. But you're locked into basically rank 4s if you play with the Ryzeal lineup. So there's going to be a bit of a limitation there. So just be very careful how you play that out. But hey, it's still going to be very scary if you have like Zodiac Barrage and you go into Whiptail. It gives them different access to remove monsters off of the field. And something that we're going to have to look into. And say you use a monster like Ram to revive one of your monsters, you can use those additional monsters to keep on ranking up, and the additional leftover bodies can also be used to make like Eclipse Twins. So yeah, these are some of the options. The deck also can still bridge into Fiendsmith because they bridge using Exciton Knight, and Exciton Knight is going to be one of your easiest options to play. All right. And originally they already did that. Like they go summon out Ice gets Sword, and you're not, rank locked just yet. You go make the Exciton Knight into was it Sequence? No, it's the Requiem to do the whole thing. You guys kind of get the idea. It's still very, very strong. Mitsu can still get down to 7 Tachyon through Dragluxion, and therefore you'll get access to your Ryzeal engine. So it's a very one-way engine, kind of like, well, just old Fiendsmith when you relied on just opening, what was it? The Fiendsmith Engraver, right? Overall, it's still going to be around. I'm looking forward to see how this deck has to evolve, because it seems like it's the deck that has the most potential to evolve. Now, if you made it this far, make sure you guys try to give me a like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and we're going to get into top tier potential right after Maliss. So Maliss is the other deck that took a significant hit here. Is it that big of a hit? I would say so, but not to the degree where the deck is unplayable. I think it's still going to be among the top tier because it is a banish-based playstyle that would basically destroy Yummy if it lands correctly, if it has the shifter. It's pretty brutal, and it has the most amount of like inherent banish, like from the Bystials, and you might be forced to shove in additional Bystials because number one of the Dormouse got removed. Okay, so that's another Dormouse. This is an open space for 1 slot in the deck, and also Splash Mage. Splash Mage hit was probably the biggest. There's a lot of collateral damage when it comes to Splash Mage because any of the cyber stacks also take a huge hit, like Math Mech, for instance. Oh my god, they really like lose so much follow-up. I don't know if they're even playable. But for deck repairs, for Maliss specifically, maybe it's time for them to put back the Haggard Lizardoise. Maybe they kept it in. You have space to put in different kinds of extra deck into your deck now. And if you're missing a space, maybe consider another Bystial. But if you think about like how much access you have to Dormouse, you still have the Gold Sark, you still have the 2 field spells, you still have Terraforming to get it, and you still have the card itself. There's still 5 cards to get access to it compared to Raisin. Raisin essentially is you need 2 card combos to get there which would be a fire and a one Staker Soul. So you have like kind of a limited card, and it's the other one's a Rhoda. So maybe you have 3-card access to it, and it's also going to be hand dependent. So definitely, I would say Maliss is more consistent, but the ceiling got lowered for sure because Splash Mage is gone. So the cheapest way to get combos is not exactly there. Most of the people I've seen that are trying it online, they go for Cyber's Wicked a bit earlier and try to get the additional summon that they extend into getting something summoned into Cyber's Wicked's Arrow to trigger it to cause a banish to generate the additional body and get the search for the backup at Ignister, and using that to help fetch for the additional like March Hare or whatever that's going to give them the additional banish. It's still not too hard to combo, but I would say Nibiru does wonderful work here because even if they extend, they need the extra body to actually generate it, so they have to take the token and go into the Link Spider for sure. And even after that, they still have to generate 2 bodies. And if they use a lot of those revival effects from Banish, they might not get enough because 2 monsters no longer extend into the appropriate card anymore because you don't have Splash Mage summoning the card back. They need some way to generate the additional monster. Maybe they'll play like those quick play spell, the spell card Monster Reborn. I don't know. It is an option, but if they just need to generate the additional name, then it might be an option. That's from what I've seen, but yeah, things are getting a little bit more pricey. It's definitely not as resilient against hand traps as compared to before. It does make a difference. And for the part you guys have been mainly waiting for, look, I don't cover every single deck, and there's not a lot of space on here, so if there's a deck that's not mentioned, feel free to leave it down in the comments section. I would like to kind of gauge what you think about it. Number 1, top tier potential, high tier potential, and hidden potential. All of these are just based off of their expectations to perform, not exactly of where they stand right now. But these are the decks with most potential and most expectation. Number 1 is going to be Yummy, because it was the lack of hit, and there's already a lot of people hyping it up. That's fair. Draco Tail, they were not touched by the ban list, and they had a pretty fair matchup against Yummy, so these two could be the top 2 rival decks right there. But let's not write off Mitsurugi Orcus or just Orcus variants. I guess there's no Fiendsmith Orcus anymore because it's kind of hard to bridge without the ability to like link them down. So I think we're just going to be stuck with the Mitsurugi Orcus for a little bit for now. I think for K9, the Crystron build might be a bit stronger, and it's also easier to bridge right now, even without like Doom of Dimension. And then don't forget about Luna Lights. Since one of Luna Lights' worst matchup was K9 Vanquish Soul, this becomes a lot easier to play, and they were untouched. They were completely untouched, so this could be one of the decks that moved up due to another deck moving down. And then Maliss at Ignister, I think they're still up there, and there's potential other K9 builds that I might not have mentioned, but K9 is going to be getting stronger, and we'll see if that hand-checking knowledge from Noroi is going to make a huge difference when Doom of Dimension comes around. Now, for high tier potential, I think there's going to be Ryzeal. It's still going to be around. K9 Vanquish definitely took a hit. You can still get hit by that, the opening turn FTK where they have the Holly Sue, the Izuna, and then they also have perhaps a fire. Maybe, I think the best fire I can think of right now has to be Jiaolong. So you have the name, and then they have a dark in hand. If they have that, they have the basically 3 disruption to wipe your board before you even get a chance to even set up. It could be very dangerous. White Force Azumina is still a very dangerous deck. Sky Striker can also perform very well. True Draco and True Draco Zoo might be a deck returning from the past. I mean, it's already very strong, and Masterpiece isn't the easiest monster to deal with, even to this day. I mean, most of the inherent just popping effect, quick effect pops, it's very dangerous, and being a monster that is essentially kind of a towers itself, very scary, and just, I don't know, just the unaffectedness of the card makes it pretty scary, especially when Imperm isn't like a commonly played card, and it's a normal summon to summon out the Masterpiece. All right, Brandon might be making a comeback, and I dare say DDD is also going to be one of the strongest decks out there. It's scary because it's got 12 1-card starters, well, 9 1-card starters and 3 1.5 card starters, and it extends super hard, but it does struggle a bit when it comes to like going second. That's why I wouldn't put it any higher, but it is a very strong deck. Trust me, I've tested it out. We're going to do some test games, and we're going to do a commentary match very soon. I'm going to release it to you guys. It's DDD versus K9 Vanquish Soul, and we're going to see how they do with the new format. We got Fire Kings still here. Memento still here. These are some very strong decks. And then hidden potential ones, the ones that I think that, hey, someone could figure something out. True King Dinosaur is going to be one of them because they, don't forget, like, they have the Evil Czar engine to give you the negates, so it's already pretty scary. But having your extra deck ripped apart before you even get a chance to play while building board, and I think this is going to be 100% before Nibiru. Sure, they only have one misc, but they also don't need to deal with your full end board. It could spell trouble for a lot of people that don't know how to cycle their extra deck, or if they run a lot of one-of copies that bridges into different pieces of the combo. Dragon Maids, that's a cool deck. Punk Fiendsmith, I think, is one of the rare decks that can still play Fiendsmith. They're not going to be making like Moon of the Closed Heaven. It's going to be like they're playing 3 Engraver and they're dumping and they're trying to set it up that way. It's going to be like a lot slower. Snake Eyes, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Like, without Moon of the Closed Heaven, you're not really getting that auto bridge. I guess you can still play Snake Eyes into Azamina because you are still technically searching for Sinful Spoil cards and Witch and every single important, I guess, Sinful Spoil card except for Original. Those are still pretty good. I know the field spell is still pretty strong as well. Dragon Rulers are going to stick around for a little bit. I mean, they also have Tenpai Engine in there. Labyrinth, if it's only for like good Labyrinth players, to be honest. There's Atlantean Mermaid that's also very strong. Of course, ever since Manless, they just haven't been seen surfacing to the top as much. And of course, there's Blue Eyes. Did I miss any deck that you guys want me to cover? I mean, there's like Chimera. Unfortunately, a deck that took a significant hit, 100% has to be like Fiendsmith ABC. That's definitely not as strong, and the combos are definitely much weaker. Not much more I can really add here. If I'm missing any decks, leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about where your deck stands, and I want to know like what are other potential decks that I probably missed here. But these are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. All right, I think that's it for now. That's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys want to help out, hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. Let me know what your thoughts are when it comes to this upcoming format. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you like everything lowering the ceiling and, you know, cutting off all the bridges into Fiendsmith or easy access into the Mitsurugi engine? Let me know. And that's all I got for this one. Hit subscribe, ding notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next one.